Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's topic about self-mastery. Really, we are working towards self-mastery. That is what we are doing as a whole. That is what the earth is doing in rising and the ascension at this time. And generally, that's what we do throughout life, hopefully, right? But the topic of self-mastery we're going to discuss today is about fears, phobias, and anxieties. What is the difference? How they affect us, and also how to master the self through them. Are they necessary? Are they a part of life that is given? And so on. I'm going to get down to every detail from the spiritual to the psychological perspective of fear, phobias, and anxiety. Okay. It really has become a pandemic across society to have fear, phobias, anxiety kind of taking over our life. A lot of people becoming medicated through therapy and things like that, or doctors, and even self-medicated, right, to help with fears, phobias, and anxieties. Lots of self-medication for that. How many people do you know that even say, I gotta smoke, I would quit smoking if I didn't have any stress to deal with, right? Anxiety. My father used to say that, who rest his soul is no longer with us, but that was used to be his theory. I'll quit smoking when my life is no longer stressful. I'm like, okay. So anyways, my name is Master Juniper Blue Mystique. I am an Ascension Master, a Master Healer, and a Divine Guide. I also have a degree in psychology. I am becoming a certified clinical hypnotherapist and much more. I have a degree and a background in crisis intervention, as well as a background in behavioral therapy. I have been a licensed behavioral technician, certified, and things like that. So I do have an extensive background as well as Master Healer. I give you both sides. Okay, so that is who I am. So Spirit said this topic was a necessity today, so that's what we're going to talk about. I do believe I have talked about it in the past. So on this channel, you may find another video on it, and that's okay. Sometimes we need to circle back around. Sometimes we need to hear it again, right? And we don't always look back through things. And then sometimes we'll have more insight that comes through. So whatever the case is, here we are. Okay. So first of all, what is fear? What is phobia? What is an anxiety? Why are we suffering from them so much? Where do they stem from? Now, sometimes traumas happen, bad things can happen, and those create fear, right? But we have been taught a lot of things, a lot of ways of the world that truly created a potion for sickness. I'll call it that, because really, again, I'm going to kind of give you both spiritually and psychologically as a healer, as somebody who understands the mind body connection and all the components of it. Okay. Fears and phobias are slightly different. So is anxiety, slightly different, but they're also all connected. Okay. All three, fears, phobias, and anxieties, are connected and can affect one another, right? So a fear can spark anxiety, fears that have a known origin, right? So that's the difference between a fear and a phobia. A fear has a known origin. They usually develop in childhood. We are kind of taught and programmed in this world to be afraid, okay? And some for survival, which is not normal, okay? Our bodies were not designed for that, okay? And I'm going to explain why. But a fear usually has a known origin. Something occurred, something happened, we were taught to fear. I even saw this video the other day of a lady kind of pretending to drop her baby, and the baby's arms would go up like this, and it was just and it would kind of like just some subtle drop. And they said that's a good thing for their neurological system to develop. And I was like, I mean, they get that naturally just from movement. So why do that? Why do we want to create fear? That's not a good thing, right? Our neurological system actually should not be designed through fear. And the world had shifted from what we originally were meant to be. So our DNA, our body, our physiology does not align with fear. Okay, it really doesn't. But if fear comes from a known origin, our brain is okay with knowns, good or bad. Our brain is not okay with unknowns, okay? Which leads me into phobias. Phobias stem from an unknown origin. They're illogical, Okay, and that's the difference between the two. And a phobia will develop later in life, often teenage years to adulthood, um, and generally have an association connection. So we just kind of take the law of association. We know this should be this, or we know this has happened, or maybe we watch something, and then we get this traumatic response that we create a phobia, fear of falling, fear of heights, right? Fear of heights, fear of falling is somewhat of a known, but maybe not for you. Maybe you never fell, right? So why be afraid of it? Fear of heights is a phobia, generally speaking, unless you were in an airplane accident, right? Which generally, if you are, a lot of them don't survive, but there are probably a few survivors. So there are probably some who have phobias that do have a little bit of a known component, which also ties into fear, right? So that's the difference between fear and phobias, known and unknown origin, and development times of childhood to later in life. See, really, you've been taught to be afraid. We have developed fear through conditioning, through a false reality. Okay, that goes into spiritual component of it. Like, why do we really have fear? The world was based off of something false. Okay, and so maybe safety, maybe we need to be heightened for safety, maybe we need to be aware, and these things can develop into a fear, right? Like if we had a fire, then we become afraid of fire. If an animal bites you, you can become afraid of that animal across the board, like all dogs, right? Like I was bit by a dog and now I have a fear of all dogs. Known association. Or I'm afraid of dragons. That would be a phobia. I mean, unless you've come across the dragon in physical form, I'd love to know. Okay. All right. Um, Another important thing to understand is, why do we need to understand these things? Because they do kind of generally control the decisions we make. They also affect our health. Okay. So our body is not meant to carry this energy. It's not meant to carry the emotion of fear or the reactiveness or being in fight or flight where we become conditioned to. So the longer you're in fear, the longer your fight or flight triggers, right? Survival, those kinds of things, instinct of survival, to the subconscious mind, we just will become triggered. I'll say that. We will become active in our fight or flight, freeze or fawn state. And then when you're there, you don't breathe correctly, you're heightened suggestible, you're hyper suggestible to the world around you, and phobias can develop. Okay. What I see is that when you have fears as your basis and you're continually in fear, fear becomes a little more commonplace, right? You don't get out of fear for very long. Your fight or flight is triggered. Survival, your fight or flight is triggered. The longer it's triggered, the longer your body becomes used to that trigger, the longer it's hard to shut it off, right? Anxiety disorders, okay? Anxiety is born. The world creates that for us. Number one, we are living in a world that creates that. Okay. And then from that state of always being in our fight or flight, we create phobias from illogical sources because our body is always heightened. We are getting used to being afraid. We're always thinking of where's the next danger, right? Conditioned responses. Okay. So they're all connected and they all affect each other and they all affect our health. All right. Now, break it down to the down. A fear is not a thing of itself, it is a symptom. Okay. It is a symptom. It is a symptom of compounded emotions. Anger can be a symptom of compounded emotions. It's like, oh, right. And then this fear starts to develop. Things that we don't understand, things we can't work through, things we can't process through. Fear can become developed through that, through compounded emotions, just like anger. Anger is a symptom as well and is developed through compounded emotions. Phobias developed through compounded emotions. Anxiety developed through compounded emotions. Those are emotions that build on top of each other and never process out, and they become compounded anxiety disorder. Okay. So through mastery of yourself, okay, the more we work inward, the more we work to master ourselves, you will conquer your fears. Okay. They have been conditioned and taught. All right. And then oftentimes They will go into things like, I mean, we all have a little bit fear of rejection, fear of success. Okay, that is another one that becomes quite conditioned and contingent upon these. So we just go into fear of success or fear of failure, right? All these kinds of things, fear of rejection, fear of death. Okay, because some of us are exposed to a lot of death. And then generally we just have this innate ability to be afraid of death in the beginning because we have a shortened lifespan that wasn't natural either. We used to live longer. Okay. We were not built in a world for constant fear and survival. That is not what our DNA was created through. Okay. It was created through love, a very powerful world of creation. You're the creator of your reality. And so we got basically numbed down. We got dumbed down. We got smaller in the world, in our lifespan, in our energy, in our capacity, and our capabilities. And we were kind of pushed oftentimes outside of ourselves. And so a lot of times I hear people talk about an awakening and, oh, I feel anxiety. And that's an important part. That's an intentional part of it. No, but why, right? And what do we do with it? Again, compounded emotions, okay? Lack of power, lack of feeling of in control of the self because we don't really know how to be in control. We don't know where control comes from. We don't know how to implement our own control and power, okay? And so these are all compounded, if that makes sense. They do really all work together. They all go hand in hand, okay? So through mastery of the self, you will conquer your fears. You will be conquering your fears, working to understand who you are, why you do the things that you do, becoming aware. I don't like the word mindful. It is a very toxic word. And boy, when you say that to people, they become triggered. No, it means this. I'm like, dude, trust me, mindful is a very low vibrational word. I don't want to be full in my mind. I want to become aware of all senses. Okay. So use awareness. Oh, I just got chills. We want to be aware of all things internal, which will cause an awareness of all things external. And then you'll also have people who say, well, I need fear for survival. No, we don't. That is another conditioned lie. Okay. First of all, in the work that I do, I have been diligently working to undo the matrix components, the medical field, the money field, the food component, all of these different things, the judicial system, the Sistine Chapel was undone, and all of those work together to create this false reality, this illusion, if you will, of what we are not. Okay, we're not meant to be external. We're meant to be internal because that's who we are. We're all a vibrational energy flow and also connected to the universal flow and also connected to God's power and light. It's within you. Everything is within you. So this matrix system is designed to keep us outside of ourselves, and fear is one of the tools of mass destruction. Okay, because that keeps your vibration extremely low. All right, which also makes us very sick, shortens our lifespan. Okay. We were meant to live a lot longer than what we do, and we will again in New Earth. All right, for those that rise. So all of these things have become compounded from a false reality. We have been conditioned that way. But in truth, we don't need fear. It's a lie. It is not of God at all. Because you, as a sovereign being of light, not detached from you as a soul, we were never meant to be that as well. We were never meant to come into the earth and forget who we were. Be like this, I don't know what's happening. It was this false reality, and undoing Mount Shasta, undoing all of the things that I've done, show you where that illusion was created and what it stemmed from. It was a false foundation, a false reality built on lies and illusion. Okay, the judicial system, all of these things create false timelines, fear, and you being detached from self, giving your power away to a world that does not serve you. You're serving that world. Okay. So I hope that helps you make sense of things, is when you're having an awakening and you start to feel anxiety where maybe you hadn't have it before, it's because you tapped into something that needs healing. You tapped into a layer of the self that is like, hello, can you pay attention to me so I can talk it to you so that we can work this out and find love again? Yeah, because I got something we need to release. That's what your body's saying to you. I got something that's either stuck. It's either like we have cell memory, right? The brain becomes like a computer program. It becomes programmed. Okay. Certified hypnotherapist. That's what I do. I undo the program. Okay. Um, the matrix is it's a false program. And so we are meant to be internal. We're meant to know our power. We are meant to be love and light and joy and gratitude and create from our heart space. But how can we do that when fear is there, when anxiety is rising, and we don't understand why it's there or what to do with us? And then all of a sudden we have these phobias developing. Like, where the hell did I come up with a fear of flying? I don't know. I know in a past life I drowned with Atlantis. I saw myself drown. I saw my 3 kids drowned, and I didn't tie it before, but when I go on murky water, I feel like there's dead bodies all beneath me. And it's this weird fear, but it was never a phobia. I would always get on the water. But in the murky water, I'm always like, oh my gosh, how many dead people are below me? So I found out that it tied to a past life. I didn't realize that until that was cleared. And I'm like, oh, I drown in the water. That makes sense, right? In a murky body of water, I'm gonna tell you, there's lots of dead bodies. And I would feel grossed out, like, they're gonna grab me, you know? Okay, somewhat irrational, but it's not, is it? Right? There was a rationality to it. But it wasn't a full-blown phobia or even technically a fear. It was just more like anxiety, right? And so really, because we're so energetic, because we're so vibrational, because the universe is really internal, okay, we connect to things that our mind cannot always compute. So an awareness does not being mindful, like I need to keep my mind on the topic. I need to be aware in the mind. No, I need to be more quiet in the mind and more tuned into all of my senses. Okay. So the word mindful, when you put it together, it's a compounded word that's yucky. I want to have power over my mind. So I want to let go of the mind. I want to be in control of it. Okay. And I don't want my mind full. I want awareness, omnipresence, observant. I did a video on that word mindful, and those are the things we should replace it with: awareness, omnipresence, and observant. Because the more I can pay attention to the details, the more I know how to listen to my body and ask the right questions, the more I'm going to know what that anxiety is tied to, so that I can once and for all release those emotions, because that's what they are. Anxiety, I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, CPTSD, okay, and OCD. I was diagnosed with those. A lot of people will say, I'm OCD. You don't understand OCD. People get so frustrated because I would get stuck in a loop. That's OCD, obsessive compulsive. You get stuck in a loop and things. Okay. So it's very real. Like, you can go be anal, you can want a clean home, but it doesn't mean you have OCD. Okay. We've used these terms a little bit too frequently. We have become an anxiety society. Okay. And we wonder why there's a mental health crisis, because we don't understand emotions. Everybody's in the head, and that's a false reality. Okay. So we need to have mind-brain coherence, mind-body coherence. They have to work synergistically. They have to work together. Okay. So the more you work on yourself, the more you listen to the things as they come and stop looking outside for the answers. You need to look within you for the answers, because who's going to know what you've been through? You. Who's going to know what works for you? You, right? I mean, unless you go to somebody like me, I can see all details of your body, but that's rare, right? I can see the entirety of your soul print, your heart, but that's because of who I am. Okay. That most of the time, only you is going to know all the details. Somebody can help bring it out though, right? Generally. So when things happen, we have to know how to go inward. It's not going to be found up here. Your brain does not store trauma. Your brain does not store the fears. They're in your body. Right? So when you feel fear, where do you feel it? When you feel anxiety, where are you feeling it? Because that area in your body is talking to you. It's saying, listen here, we're going higher. Something's here and we need to let this go. Maybe it's an imprint from the past. Maybe it's even in your DNA from your ancestors. So we don't always need to know all the details, but we need to be able to listen to our body and hold space for it, to talk to it and allow it to process. Okay. Because once you heal so much, like I used to have those titles. After I healed myself, I am 99.9% not triggered by PTSD anymore. It's very rare. If I let my vibration get low, I get slightly triggered and my kids are like, whoa. I'll be like, go check the stove. Wait, did you check the stove? I need you to check the stove. They're like, Mom. I'm like, just go check it again. Let me check. I need to check the stove. Maybe it's I'm very, okay. So that is one of my OCD triggers. Is the stove, the front door, is it locked? Did you lock the door? And I'll go all day going, did I lock the door? I need to check the door. I need to check the door. I need to check the door. So where does mine stem from? Safety. Okay. And then it also used to be in the shower. Yeah, my hair has always been pretty long. It's rare. I've cut it off a few times. But so my showers would take about an hour on average just to feel clean. I would use antibacterial soap. I'd have to start from my head to my toes. My feet had to be the very last thing that I washed because everything's washing down. So I know they were getting contaminated the entire time. So you see this, okay. So as I started healing my son, those go into fears, anxiety, and phobias, don't they? OCD. Okay. We become obsessively stuck on something because we're looking for control. We're looking for comfort. We're looking for ease. And this world is a world that put us in a place of lack of control. Okay. The chills are overwhelming. We were in a world that we had very little control over. Okay. Now, the reason fears also start from when we're a child. We don't have control of our environment, do we? And sometimes shit happens that we're not in control of even as an adult, right? But the thing is let's say even for like cars and things like that, right? When you're internal, when you are truly internal and you can feel all the things, you're omnipresent, you have an awareness, and you're observant. Okay, I'm not mindful. I don't need my mind to tell me anything. I need my body to tell me everything. So body full? No, I don't want anything full. I want it flowing. You see how toxic that word really is? Oh, and I help people argue that with me. Trust me, I know. The vibration of that word isn't good either. So when I'm aware and I'm omnipresent and I'm observing, okay, I'm going to take this deeper and I'm going to take this deeper and I'm going to go through another layer and I'm going to go through another layer because everything's layered, right? And it takes presence. I don't like the word time, but it takes presence. And the world kept us like, oh, we got to hurry. I got to be outside of my head. I got to be busy. I got to be working for survival. They keep us in survival. The world was created in survival. It was created in survival, right? So that is where one of the fears comes from. That's the biggest argument. Well, I need to know if I'm going to die. Like I need fear for that. No, we don't. Because when you're truly present, when you can truly feel all things, we have lots of senses for a reason. Psychically, I'm connected 1000% to those senses. That's how I sense, see, feel, and know things that I shouldn't know, right? And they've always come true. But it's never about, oh my God, you're going to die. No, it's about, hey, maybe listen to your body today, maybe ground before you go do something so that you're aware. So we can pay attention to all details because generally we will get a nudge to not do something. Okay, an example, when I was before I had my awakening and I knew who I was, I think I was 18, and I was with a boyfriend in the mountains in Cripple Creek, Colorado, and we were in the mountains, right, on dirt hills, and we had big old four-wheelers. I'm not talking about the little size, they were big, full-size four-wheelers. And he borrowed them from his boss at work. And we're like, we're going four-wheeling all day long. I'm like, sweet. I'm a Colorado girl, right? I'll wear a dress, but I'll kick your ass at the same time. So anyways, like I'm good at all things. So I was riding a four-wheeler and I had a busted toenail too. So it was really hard to downshift because I was having to downshift all day. But I was doing good. We were riding them all day long. And I decided I'm gonna win. I'm gonna race him. That's a Leo in me. It's competitive, right? I'm gonna win, and I like pulled out in front. I'm like, "Rah, rah," and I'm like, zoom, going down the mountain. I'm winning, like in my head, like I'm gonna win. This is our last run of the day. I'm like, I'm gonna win. Leave it to Bree. I will totally kick your butt in something. That's just who I am. I'm very competitive. I love a challenge. I love playing. I love those kinds of things. So it's like I'm gonna win, and I hop out in front of him in the four-wheeler, and I kind of I can't hear him anymore, right? Like I pull out quite a bit in front of him, and we're on the dirt road, and next to us are really big ditches, right? To the both sides of the road, and I'm going fast, like I'm full speed ahead on this for no helmet, because I don't know why. Maybe we didn't have them. Um, no fear. I never lived by fear. This was before I really developed. I was in a marriage with a severe narcissist, and that's kind of where I developed the CPTSD from a lot, and also compounded from my childhood. Okay. But when I was 19, I was not full blown, I was OCD, but I was not full blown CPTSD or anything like that, right? So I didn't have a lot of fears. I took the world head on. That's generally how I do, right? I always go full on, full feet in. I got this. So maybe it's the double Leo. I don't know. Anyways, I was kicking his butt. I was winning full speed ahead, and I couldn't downshift all of a sudden. My toe was started to bleed because it was busted from something else. And I was trying to because I had a downshift with my toe, right? You have your throttle on the handles, and I was trying to downshift with my toe, and it wouldn't go. And I was like, oh, it finally really started hurting. Now, mind you, last run of the day, I'm going faster than I've gone all them, like full speed ahead down a dirt hill, and there's huge like trenches to each side. And all of a sudden I'm trying to downshift, and I start veering towards the ditch, and I literally heard somebody say, "Let go." And I'm like trying to process that. I was like, let go. And then the next thing I knew, I was thrown into the ditch head first, and my four-wheeler said, bam, like it hit, bam. And I let go. I'm like, let go. And then suddenly I heard curl up. Like I got it, like I heard, and I curl up, and I got an image to do like this because I was thrown off the four-wheeler. And thank God I was. If I had not let go, I would have gone bam, face first into probably my death. So I let go. It threw me off, probably feet ahead of it. And I hit my head. How I didn't get knocked out, I don't know. And then I curled up like this in the fetal position, and I covered my head because I heard I heard something like roll up, cover up. So I did, and I also got the image to do this. Now, I wasn't awake yet. I didn't know who I was. So, but I wasn't afraid. There was never any fear. I just whoop, rolled with it. I let go, didn't know what was coming or why. It was just sudden. Okay. It was I was going super fast. It's probably pretty much as fast as those go. And I veered off suddenly and hit the ditch and flew off because I let go, because something told me let go. And I listened without doubt, without wonder, without question. I just I literally heard let go. It was so weird. So I let go. Then I curled up because I got told to curl up, and my instincts were boom, fetal position, cover my head, and the four-wheeler went bam right on top of me. And I'm laying there, and all of a sudden I'm crushed. Like I was 19, I was barely 120 pounds wet, 5'3". I stopped growing at 16, right? So I was 5'3", barely 120 pounds. And I was like this, and this four-wheeler was on top of me, and my boyfriend just comes running. All of a sudden I hear him going, "Oh my God, Brianna, Brianna, Brianna." And I'm like, couldn't move. I think I was in shock. Wasn't responding. I was just like trying to like realize I was still alive. I was being crushed by a foot. It was very heavy. But my head was protected like this, and I was kind of in the fetal position. So it really had my back, and my legs were somewhat up under me. And then he all of a sudden was like trying to lift it, and it was so heavy. He was like, "Oh," and I could tell his adrenaline kicked in, and he was like, boom, and he got it up, and I just stayed there. And he's like, "Get out, get out, get out." And it finally clicked after him saying it like 20 times, "Get out." And I crawled out from under it. And all I had was bruises, bruised ribs, multiple contusions, which is cuts and scrapes all over my body. My ribs were severely bruised, but no broken bones, probably a mild concussion, never lost consciousness. And my point is never had fear. I just listened. I paid attention. I was omnipresent. I heard what I heard and I didn't question. I just listened. And now later, looking back, I'm like, holy shite. Somebody told me. It was God, it was the angels. I don't know who it was to this day, but I had some guardians. But fast forward, after my awakening, I am a pure channel. Okay. I literally can channel spirits so fast. Even people in my school for hypnotherapy, I'm like just practicing and I'm like, with your permission, I'll just see what spirit says you need. Don't know them, don't anything, never worked with them, don't ask questions. That's how I roll. They're like, okay. And so I'm like, giving them the downloads, bypassing their consciousness. And they're like, afterwards, they're like, how did you know that? Or they'll ask me a simple question and I'll be like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. That's who I am. I'm just highly connected. I sense, I hear, I feel, I just know, I get visuals, I have all the senses, right? And it played out then. But there was no fear. Not once was I ever afraid. It took me, though, I'm going to keep it real. Took me a little while to get on a four-wheeler. But I did. I did. And it wasn't like, like I was just like, oh, I like had to push past that resistance. But I'm like, wait, it was my fault. Homie, it was my fault. I was totally in competition. I was totally arrogant about it. So I got back on a four-wheeler again. And to this day, there's a little heightened senses towards four-wheelers. If I hear my kid was on, like, where was your helmet? You know what I mean? If I was wearing a helmet, I would have probably been safer than I was. Good. Thank God my head wasn't cracked open, right? Because I was literally thrown off feet and then it landed on top of me. But if I didn't hear, like if you're in fear, do you think you're going to be able to hear those things? It's almost as if our mind shuts down and we're just have you heard people talk about that? Like an accident comes and it's like slow motion. Like they can see all these, and it's not until afterwards that we're like, right? I should have been so afraid. And then the fear develops. Okay. So I kind of liken that to everything. It's like if we have fear for survival, we're not going to be able to survive. Okay, we won't be able to hear in those critical moments all things that need to be heard, sensed, felt, or known so that we can take a step this way instead of a step that way. You feel? So fears are not for survival. They're not necessary. It's like a sickness. It's like a poison. It is a weapon of mass destruction. And fear creates phobias, creates anxiety, creates OCD. Now, OCD and trauma also go hand in hand. That goes a little deeper, right? Because I feel like my OCD started from being violated as a little girl and in a world filled with bad things, right? And not safe my entire life. So OCD came way before my anxiety disorder and CPTSD. But you see how they all kind of work hand in hand, right? OCD, I'm afraid. Really, you're trying to be in control of your environment. Okay. So it's like lack of control, lack of power, lack of understanding control in your power. And when we're a child, we don't have a choice in that, right? Our parents are supposed to be our protectors, our guiders, our all of those things, but not all of us have had that. Okay. Sometimes our parents were the ones hurting us. Okay. For some of us. So what we're supposed to have to what we did have don't compute. And what our DNA and our body says we should have and we are created through is not aligning from that false world. Okay, our lives were shortened, sicknesses and crew. If I'm constantly in a high vibration, happy, joy, giddy, following my heart space in balance, which I had a dream about balance for prosperity being so important, and it was ignored on my journey right through the path for people. You see how these kind of play in? Balance, we need to, but that's when we feel our best. And when I feel my best, I'm at my best. My skin glows, we're healthy, our body responds and such. Our words are high vibrational. When we're in fear, we're closed off, we're tightened, we are constantly trying to make sure our like chess, like I'm gonna make the right moves because I want to stay protected. I'm in survival mode. Okay. We go from survival mode, and that's the world we were created. Well, what about bad people? I got to be afraid. Bad things happen. Not in the world we were supposed to be in. That's true. The new earth will not be that way. We will not have death. like that. We will not have murder stories. And because I used to do the unsolved mysteries, I loved doing those. I wanted to be a homicide detective. True story. I wanted to be a homicide detective. Little old me. I was this little old girl from Colorado, right? Like little, I was tiny. 5'3", barely 120 pounds for many years. Till everything took a toll on my body, and then I did a little bit of like, F it, I'm eating. But where was I at? Um, so we were not meant to be afraid. I lost a little bit of my train of thought there, but we were not meant to be afraid. We were not meant to be developed in a world for survival and fear. Yes, I wanted to be in unsolved mystery cases. Okay, going back, getting it all, it's all coming back to me now. I wanted to be a homicide detective. I really did. Like it was my dream. I loved that. I loved giving a voice to the unvoiceless, which I actually did in the behavioral field too. Okay. I worked with kiddos that they were nonverbal a lot, and they used violence as a form of communication, and people were afraid of them. I worked with the more severe cases. They were completely, some could talk, but they used violence as a form of communication. Okay. So I loved work. That was my dream, but you had to be a police officer to do it in the state of Colorado. And I didn't want to be a police officer. I didn't like police officers. I didn't want to be a police officer. Girl came from a place of pretty bad people. And I wasn't a snitch leaves you with ditches in the ditches, right? Being a snitch left you in the ditch. That's what I was taught. It was ingrained. I was a good girl though, but I still didn't want to be a police officer. We grew up being ingrained that, F the police, you know what I'm saying? But I also met some not so nice police. It just wasn't in my thing. So I was like, screw it. I can't be a homicide detective then. Detective, yes, police officer, hail to the nah. So it changed my path. Um, anyways, then after my awakening, I started doing the unsolved mysteries and murders and things like that. And I did that before I processed Jesus's death. It was one of the pieces of the puzzle where Spirit said, do this, do this. And there was a little boy named Gannon that had been murdered by his stepmother in Colorado. And that just became national news at the time. And Spirit was like, start tuning into this at the same time. And somebody was like, oh my God, my friend's dad's missing. It this just came to me. Like all these things just came to me. And so I was forced, basically, not forced, but it was like brought to me to look in and tune in to what's going on with these people. And I can see where he was. I could see my friend's dad. I could see the helicopter flying over him, but they kept missing him. And I ended up being with him during his last breath. I was like, oh my God, it shocked me. I was like, well, if they didn't find him, what's the point, right? Like, what's the point? If I can see where he is, nobody else can get what I'm saying. The helicopter's flying over him, but they're not seeing him. And it was 3 days of it, and I felt his last breath. So I was a little bit like set back. I'm like, what's the point? And then with Gannon, it was a case that all of a sudden hit, but one morning I woke up and he was with me, like and I was just learning that I was a medium, and he was on the other side and he was with me, but he was so confused. He didn't know he died. And I'm like, oh, what do I do with this spirit? And so all of a sudden I was shown to walk him to the light. So I walked him to the other side. Turns out he was drugged, kind of beat and things like that. And she killed him, but he was drugged. And so he didn't know he died at first. And so I was like, I know how he died. I know how he died. And this was in the beginning of it. And somebody told me, go online and tell the police. So I went on the thingy and I know this is how he died. And this is where I see his body. And they're like, we don't want psychics. And it turns out after that, she moved his body. So it's like, I was freaking spot on. I guarantee you, but she was probably watching all the forums, but they were like, we don't want psychics telling us anything. And they wouldn't look into anything. It was to me, like, why am I doing this? I knew, I saw him. He showed me everything. I had to stop watching because it got brutal. Because I asked him, how'd you die? Where are you? And I saw him like in like a suitcase, and I saw him in like a field. I saw him and like this and that and the other. And nobody would listen to me. So I was like, why am I doing this? What's the point when nobody cares, right? Nobody listens to you. So I almost quit. And God's like, keep going, do this now. And then shortly after those things, I processed Jesus's death. So turns out there's things to why we do everything, right? I wasn't meant to be those. I wasn't meant to be a homicide detective, but I was still meant to show and process people's deaths and help them free their souls. And I did that in Mount Shasta. I freed lots and hundreds of souls there. But I don't just free them, I process their deaths. So I process, I can see all the details. I can feel the texture through their feelings. It's intense. Okay. So one thing led to another. It's like, I always had this innate knowing that I had a connection. After I got to New Earth, there is no more of that. I can't do those anymore. Spirit said we can't do them. They won't exist in New Earth. So I can't sit here and keep researching, well, who did this to this child this time, even though that was a passion of mine. It will no longer exist. We will no longer have those things in New Earth. We were never meant to. It was created through a false system, through judicial system, the Sistine Chapel, the false foundation, Mount Shasta, all of these things that I've undone. We're all a part of a false foundation that detached us from our soul. We couldn't see who we are. We couldn't see our life purpose anymore. Do you know how many people would actually live and not fulfill their soul purpose? A lot. And they just kept coming back and having to repeat and learn the cycles of karma they were creating and try to find love, but we were blinded to it. We won't be that anymore. Okay. So fear is a false illusion. It is something that we can't carry forward. It's not supposed to be a part of you. Some people have been so conditioned to fear, to these traumas, and we have become like, oh, my anxiety, I just need a pill and I can't function and I can't. And it became acceptable. It became like our blueprint. But it's not who we're meant to be. And if you have fear, it's because you need to work through the layers of what brought it to be. Okay. If you have anxiety, you just got to tune inward and work through the emotions that are compounded that create these things. Okay. Same with phobias. They all work hand in hand and we heal them through mastery of the self. It is not a sign that you're on the right track. It is not there to save you. It actually harms you. It holds you back. It blinds you. I can't hear through fear, right? It's like on the crisis line. You can try. A lot of therapists won't do therapy on somebody in crisis because they can't hear you. They can't hear you. All they can hear is the crisis mind. They can't breathe, right? They're stuck in this survival breath. It's their state. You have to work through that in the moment, right? And a lot of people won't sit with people in their darkest moments. Okay. They would be like, medicate them. I can't work with them. But then when you medicate them, and I know this from the behavioral field, I can't get through. I cannot heal you. Okay. So if you're doing microdosing, I can't heal you. You're blocking receptors. We cannot fully heal medicated. We cannot fully heal in fear. You're going to block the receptors. It's a false timeline. So when you're power depleted, anxiety can also come in. You think you're a victim and you're not a victim. Victimhood consciousness is power depletion. It all kind of ties together, doesn't it? That's a whole nother video I've done before. And a lot of people tell me, why I didn't heal enough. You're not a victim. It was a choice you made. Why'd you make the choice? What's going on? You maybe not have taught what to do. That's not your fault. There's no blame and shame, but what can we do about it now? You're not a victim. Okay. When we were children and we don't have a choice over our environment, you may have been a victim of your environment. But as you get older, you are no longer a victim and you have the choice to change what you're doing and your reactiveness or your choices or change the blueprint, and probably part of your karmic cycle to do so. Because our parents are our karmic cycle, your children can be your karmic cycle, whatever they needs to teach you those lessons. Nothing is outside of you. Okay. So we're not a victim. Fear for survival, not necessary. And an awakening anxiety is just a signal that compounded emotions rising, bloop, bloop. The vibrations pulling them out, or vibrations rising. So we need to heal these, and you're actually tapping into a layer that you buried. Okay. But we need to know how to talk to it. We need to know how to release it. Right. Y'all, I've gotten so many chills on this video. I hope it helped you a lot. So why do we need to know fears, phobias, and anxiety? It's a lie. It's blinding and binding. It will keep you from rising. It will give resistance power against you. They will use your fears, your worst fears against you. The shadow will always use your weaknesses against you. Temptations come through those. They're all connected. They all affect each other. One grows off of another. Okay. Then if we keep going with that, we're going to be diagnosed with cancer. We're going to be diagnosed with all this kind of stuff. So it causes health issues. Absolutely. What is it that, okay, in weight loss, right? Cortisol's from stress as a stress response. Stress response. Stress is always being in fear. I shouldn't live in survival. We are not meant to live in survival. That was a lie. Okay. We're not meant to live for survival, no matter what that is: water, food, home, shelter, not being raped, those kinds of, like, I shouldn't live in fear for survival. That was all a false world created from a false system, from a veil of illusion, from the fallen, from God. Okay. And it's not our power. That's taking our power away. Being outside of ourselves is not our power. That's taking our power away. Okay. So fear is a hard one, because if I'm afraid, I want to escape. That's why a lot of people self-medicate. If I'm afraid, I'm going to want to hightail it the F out of there, right? I don't want to feel fear. It's rough, right? It's like the deepest, most grief. It's very hard to sit in. Very hard to sit in, especially with fear, because we don't know what's on the outcome. And then that's where, a lot of SI can come in, is because I don't see an end to this. I'm tired of suffering. I don't want to suffer. And really, generally, if they're reaching out, it's like, help me, I don't know what to do. I'm like at a wit's end, and I don't really necessarily want to, but I don't know what else to do. And I'm really tired of this battle. Cyclic, right? So fear can be hard to sit in. Fear can be hard to bypass, but that's the power of the mind, because it's a lie. So, like with my twin flame, like when we were supposed to come together, I learned that he had a fear of losing his kid for showing up for his soul path, or these kinds of things. And those can be so strong, because who'd want to lose their child? But it was a lie. Okay, my ex used to ingrain fear in me. That was part of his abuse and control. I wasn't allowed to work. I wasn't allowed to have a phone. Half the time I couldn't have a car. He would leave me, I used to smoke. He would leave me with a cigarette but no lighter. Um, he would constantly tell the neighbors that I was abusing them and that they needed to watch me, or he would call the police for no reason but have me afraid. Like, you see what I'm saying? And so I was always afraid. Then after I finally got away from him, he broke in my home and put in recording devices, and then would text me, I know what you're wearing, I know what you're doing, I know who's at the house. Like, you're going to go down. I'm going to take everything, like these kinds of things. It was constant fear. It's a weapon of mass destruction. Okay. And so fear in itself can be really hard to push past. It can be really hard to step over. It can be really hard to sit with. And what God taught me, what Spirit taught me, what my awakening taught me and healed me through, I healed myself to help heal all of you, was to sit in that fear. So I healed these things on my own. I'm no longer OCD all the way. Like, if my vibration's low and I brought it there, I can get a little stuck in it again. Like, it will come back a little bit, and generally presents with, oh my God, I need to check the stove. Oh my God, I need to check the stove. Oh my God, I don't feel right. I need to put on my shoe again. I need to walk. I would count my steps, which was really weird. And I was doing that since I was a kid, and it would have to be right foot first with even numbers. So, like going down the step 1, 2, my right foot always had to be the even numbers, or I'd have to start with, and this was signs of OCD. Okay. But Spirit taught me how we get past those things. And it takes your power. It takes tenacity. It takes your will. You have free will. You do have free will, but they've taken that from us. They manipulated it and blind you. And that's why they call you sheeple, is because we are not awake to what we're doing. We become detached from awareness. Okay. And so fear is really hard. When fear comes up, it's like debilitating. Fight, flight, or freeze, right? My friends, like, some of us will freeze. We were talking about that with possums. Like, they'll play dead. And my daughter's like, Mom, they're not playing dead. They like pass out. They can't move. Like, they go into freeze. They just can't move. You can't move. And I feel like fear can do that a lot. Like we can't move or I'm running the hell away. I'm going to escape. I will self-medicate. I will do all of these things so I don't have to feel that. Okay. So that's why it's really hard to break that. It's really hard to sit in those fears. So what we do is we anchor into the right things. What does that mean? First of all, if you don't meditate, you are doing an injustice because that is the number one way to take your power back from your mind. Okay. You need to quiet the mind. And I don't care how loud that sucker gets and how hard it fights back, because it's going to fight back. I try to meditate, but it gets so loud. Hell yeah, it does. That's because it's in your power. The power has been given, right? We have to clear it. We have to call it back. We got to sit with it, say, no, thank you. We have to choose to quiet those thoughts. You choose. That's why getting in the gap is so important, because you pick the words and you sit down in between and the words have no power over you anymore. Okay, that's getting in, and that's what I was shown to do, and that's what I would teach. And then I realized Wayne Dyer did that. I was shown to do that through spirit. I was shown towards Wayne Dyer, and then I would show people, hey, this is, and people would resist it. Well, I don't like that he uses God in it. Where's your connection to love? Does it really, like, seriously, right? Like, we would come up with excuses. We come up with these reasons why we can't. Call your power back, because it's important to do it. Okay. Breathe. We have to use our breath. We need to come inward. We need to come into our bodies, and we have to fight against that pull that says, no, no, nay, nay, you're going to die. Because homeostasis, your body's built for survival. Your mind has been built for survival. And so we have to say, if fear's there, your mind's going to go, oh no, we're going to die. Get out of here. Like, you don't, I'm going to die. I gotta do this because there's where my comfort zone is. Okay. So even, does a known have to be a positive? No. But will our brain accept it as a known? Yes. And will it become part of our comfort zone? Yes. Okay. That's where you get those victimhood, because it becomes part of their comfort zone to be low vibrational, to be stuck in fear. Okay. We become accustomed. So in order to really break from these, accustomed to OCD, I'm used to checking my knob 12, 13 times, going down the road, coming back and checking it again, because it's survival, right? I'm used to checking my stove 100 times. I'm used to making sure I am squeaky clean with antibacterial soap and, like, don't touch me. Survival, control, power, you see. So in those moments when you're at your hardest and you don't know how to get past it, the emotions are so strong, breathe. That's the first thing you need to do, is breathe. Generally, you're not breathing. You're breathing survival. It's very shallow breath. Okay, you're not even noticing your breath. So bring your awareness to your breath. 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 Okay. Deep breaths. Breathe into the stomach, the diaphragm. This is one tool that is very powerful, and I would use it on the crisis line. And sometimes they would just call me to be able to do that with me, to sit with me. Some would call me for a guided meditation, okay, to get out of fight or flight. Okay, so we have to do that. And your body's gonna be so used, it's gonna try to pull you back in. So you need to create a new routine. I need to ground, I need to meditate, I need to use my breath, I need to constantly change what I see, sense, feel, and create. So if I'm so used to this and negativity, I need to catch myself doing that. I can't speak negative. I got to pull myself out of that big old dark hole. You are your own hero. You are your own survivor. You are your own, sorry, not survivor. You are your own hero. You are your own healer. You are the one. Does that mean that there's people that won't help you? There is. You just have to know where to look. Okay. Not everybody can help you, because Lord knows they're outside of themselves, right? They don't even know how to help themselves half the time. But there are people who can. You're not a victim. Call your power back. Okay. Ground into the earth. Get that healthy routine. Talk to God. Get in your heart center. Listen to the body. And we have to give space for allowing those deeply compounded emotions to rise. And they will rise when they're ready. I don't need to ruminate on trauma. That is not a high vibration, but that psychology sometimes will teach you that, right? Some people go into therapy and they do circle therapy and, things like that. And I need to be brought to my trauma so that I can heal it. And you know what the thing is, though, is when it's time to heal, it's going to rise. Sit with it when it needs to be seen, felt, heard. It has to go through your senses and the way it was developed. This is true. So it's like reversing it out, right? I'm going to have to see that again. I'm going to have to feel it. but only when you're ready will Spirit bring it through you. If you're doing the work, if you're going inward, if you're just gently listening, you can always ask for it to be gentle. You can ask for it to be in pieces if necessary. But you have to give space that when it's time, it will rise. Look at it, feel it, sense it, cry it out, beat up a pillow, not a tree, because you don't want to scar your knuckles. That's what my daddy taught me. Beat up the pillow, scream into the pillow, because then it's muffled and not everybody can hear you, but you can get it all out if you ain't got woods to go into, okay? So there's ways to release. If you're high vibrational, does it ever mean that I got to go into anger and can't release it? You can release it. Just don't release it on other people. Or a tree and you hurt your knuckles, or a window and you cut yourself. That shit is drama. Okay, and you don't want to do that. But there are avenues. Get a punching bag. Exercise is a really good way to release anger, fear, and stress. Okay, so if you're really in it, if you're really in the feels, you know what I mean? Like, squeeze, squeeze all your muscles and let it out. Okay. I have actually healed somebody who self-harmed to where they don't do it anymore. I went from one thing to maybe another, and now we find there's none. Okay. In the crisis line, they just teach you management. You can heal these things. You can. But you have to know what to anchor into, and you have to diligently do it, because you're going to have to reprogram the program. So if your body's constantly used to being in fight or flight, constantly used to being in fear, you heal it through the layers. It's going to take layers of healing. Sometimes it takes a lot of healing. It depends on how much layers it created it. Okay. And it's going to be from health, physical health issues that are part of the layers, probably, to emotional, to vibrational. It's all the layers of you. Okay. And so let them rise when they need to, sit with them when they need to, but don't hold on to them. Let them pass and keep filling your space with higher vibrational things. Okay. I need to now, since I've been saturated in fear and OCD, I'm going to break that. I would sit against the need to go and make sure my clothes didn't touch. I would sit against the need to, like, I would ruminate, and even in relationships, I would get stuck on a topic. Like, OCD goes far, right? And people didn't understand it. And I'm like, but I can't, like, it would just keep coming. So I would have to actually sit with that with myself and tune in and talk to my things. Like, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? Show me what I need to release. Show me what I need to heal, and allow yourself to process the layers each time. You have to be diligent. You have to come up with new routines. You are your savior. Okay. Medications, self-medicating to a little pill they prescribe you, do not help you. And I'm not here to argue that with you. I cannot heal you if you are medicated. I used to smoke pot, and Guy would tell me, clear out your system. Now it's time. He didn't make me stop at first. When I had my awakening, I was able to do that for a little while. Then when he asked if I would quit, it was time to quit. And I've learned that, and of course, that was part of the journey, and it was always a temptation. It was really hard. And my first DM did way harder things than that. So the temptations were massive, right? They really were. But I learned is that even on that, something as simple as that, you cannot fully heal. Okay. So we have to give our body time to process everything out of our system through all layers, tissue, synapses. As a master healer, I see all these things of creation of you. I've literally healed things within the body from the deepest layers that they would take years to test and identify. And I can see it like that when it's necessary, when it comes up in the layers, when it's needed, it comes, and we heal it and we process that layer. Okay. Think of all the layers of you. So if I've built up fear and trauma and all these things, it's going to process out, and maybe eventually I'm going to have some physical symptoms. Sweaty, night sweats, palms clammy, bathroom issues. Like, you will process out through many layers. Just like as a healer, I burp a lot. I just burped when I said that. We have ways of processing. Okay. Sometimes crying. Sometimes I need to go for a run. So if we can't get out that energy, the fear, the flight, the anxiety, that I need to kill something, we have to release it somehow. So sometimes running, exercise, beating up a pillow, as my dad would tell me, those kinds of things, do them, but just don't take it out on anybody else or yourself. There's no reason for more pain, but use a healthy avenue to release. Oh, also, very important, very important. And I need you guys to hear me before I clear this out. Phobias are not just off of these things. If you have low blood sugar, your body will go into an anxiety attack at times. Okay. Phobias and anxiety attacks can be a sign of low blood sugar. So it's not just trauma. It's not just these things. Sometimes your body is telling you something's wrong. I'm going to repeat that. Low blood sugar can be a cause of these things. It's not always just a cognitive response. Sometimes it's a physiological response. Okay. So, when you go to sleep and you have that feeling of falling, have you ever had that? It's because your blood sugar drops. Some people equate it to, oh my God, if I fall in my sleep, your blood sugar is doing something. Okay, your body's responding in a way. So it's not necessarily so, but it's something to look into. So if you are having anxiety and phobia out of the blue without a known cause, sometimes it is your blood sugar. That's so important to hear. Okay. So our body tells us in many ways, low blood sugar levels causes anxiety reactions. You can have a anxiety attack from that. Phobias can develop from that. So it's something to really pay attention to. Is this really from something else, or is it my body syndrome telling me something's going on in my body? Okay. So that can also become cyclic. Anxiety, low blood sugar, phobic responses are self-perpetuating. Okay. So what that means is when anxious, people tend to forget to eat. Okay. So when you have anxiety, forget to eat, your blood sugar drops, and then it causes more. And then, so it's like this cyclic thing. So not only do we need to ground into the right things, we need to make sure our physical health is taken care of. Are you eating healthy? Are you speaking healthy? Are you actively doing things to be healthy within the body? Okay. And substances also, like if I would go smoke, which also brings toxins, it takes away oxygen. We are now carbon rich and oxygen low, and then we don't eat, and our blood sugar does this and that and the other. So it's self-perpetuating. Okay. It's like the cyclic thing that we do to ourselves sometimes. So we have to be very aware of what we're putting in. Are we eating healthy? Are we speaking healthy? Okay. I used to know kids on the behavioral side of things when I worked in the behavioral field. And sometimes, with autistic children, they like severe autism, they are food avertive. Like I had a kid that would only eat Cheez-Its. And as a parent, I'm like, regardless of what my child is forcing me, I'm not going to just keep giving him Cheez-Its only, right? We're going to work through this. And sometimes just, but behaviorally, we can work on behaviors, but sometimes people don't know how to do that. You know what I mean? And so I knew this kid who only had Cheez-Its. He would come in with 3 types of Cheez-Its every day. That's all he ate. And he was developing physical symptoms. He would stop in the middle of the road, take off his shoes just to scratch his feet like really, 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 really hard because there's no nutritional value in that, right? So our health, from what we eat to what we take in, from what we watch, what we listen to, our self-talk, all of this will dictate fear, phobias, and anxiety, the self-perpetuated motion. It will dictate your state of being. Okay. So do all things in moderation, but things that really do support you. Okay. Pay attention. When we are anxiety, we forget to breathe less oxygen to our brains. Okay. Less oxygen to our muscles and our tissues. And this is how we can get really sick. And then we can't sleep well. Sleep apnea, sleep issues are also a part of that, right? If I'm not getting enough sleep, I'm not mentally healthy. So, and my dad would argue this one, and I wasn't awake until my dad died. He's what actually caused my awakening, because I went inward and also the return path to occur. because of his passing. Otherwise, it wouldn't have. But he used to tell me all the time, I can't sleep. And I'm like, but listen to me. You know what I mean? We got to work through your habits. And he was a smoker and he was an escaper a lot. And so it's like this self-perpetuating things. If we're not willing to do what's best for us, even if it's difficult in the moment until we develop a new habit, then you're going to continue cycling. We have to break the cycle, break the habits, and we have to choose different choices, right? And sometimes maybe we need help, but also what kind of help are you getting? Is it like the victimhood consciousness type of help? Are you taking your power away? Are you just medicating? Or are we looking into it and doing our best to gain our power back, gain insight into what we're doing, what might be harming us? Because we're all different. I need certain foods, you need certain foods. I need this, you need that. I need more light, you need more shadow. I mean, shade, right? Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you need different what I need. So it's not going to be one thing serves all, but it's going to be having all these tools in your tool bag, knowing what to pay attention to, and knowing what choices to make. Okay. Did I eat healthy today? If I'm in fear and flight, I may have forgot to breathe. I may have forgot to eat. Maybe all I ate was comfort food and it was all toxic. And now my energy's low. I went through a little phase of that myself. Like, just give me comfort food. My own twin flame died. He attacked me. All this kind of stuff. Blah 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 blah. You know, I was attacked and attacked and attacked, and I went through a lot. Like, I quit a lot of bad habits of my own. I kept listening to God. I kept doing these things, and all anybody did was attack me and try to stop the journey. And so I went into a like little space of my own of just give me something comfort. And I didn't realize I was doing it all the way until somebody asked me if I had like diabetes. But I don't, thank God. And so now I have to take the steps to recorrect, right? No blame, no shame, not medication. I actually went to the doctor and I told them this is my plan of action. They said, yes, that's a good one. I'm like, so you agree? It's not medication. It's just me controlling what I take in, me doing what my body's saying to do. And she's like, yep, do it. I'm like, okay. Because what do they usually try to do? Give you Ozempic, give you all the, I had a doctor that was like, well, we can get you Ozempic. I'm like, no. Right? So you're in charge. You're the only one who knows everything you went through. You're the only one who can really truly listen to your body. Right? Okay. So I hope this helped. Please comment below. Let's do a different number this time so I know people heard me, because that blood sugar thing is also very important. So I want you to comment 4444 if you received what you needed to out of this video. Okay. So much love to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. I can see now why Spirit wanted me to bring this information for all of you, because fear has become a pandemic. And it is a weapon of mass destruction, and it is a lie. And it is what is so hard and difficult to push past sometimes. And even listening to your heart, fear can stop you. Fear can stop you from being your best self. Fear can stop you from going to apply for that job. Fear can stop you from many, many things, including survival. Because if I go get in the water and I start to panic out of fear, I'm going to drown. Right? I have to be able to listen to my body, know what to do in the moment. It's innate in you. If you look at a baby, they throw them in the water. Generally, they know how to swim. But when we get older, we're taught things, and fears become conditioned, and we get in and we go into fear, we will drown. Okay? I'm saying exceptions to every rule, but you feel? Okay? So just keep swimming. But how do we do that without the right tools in our tool bag? Okay, so much love to all of you. I hope you learned so much today and got exactly what you needed. And I can't wait. If you have any questions, comments, anything you'd like to throw in, feel free to comment it below. And please, 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 if you heard entirety of this video, comment 4444. Until next time, my friends, I will see you later. Sometimes I go fast. If you need clarification, please let me know. See you later.